Alexa, what's the weather going to be like this week?
In Cardiff for the next day, 16 degrees Celsius and rainy weather. Wednesday, 14 degrees and partly sunny weather. Thursday, 17 degrees and rainy weather. Friday, 17 degrees and rainy weather. Saturday, 15 degrees and showers. Sunday, 16 degrees and showers. Monday, 6 degrees and partly sunny weather.
Bit of rain, that's what we need. Bit of rain for the rivers. Right. Okay, lads, I see there's a few coming on now. Won't be a second. Let's get a few more join us, and then we'll start. Yeah. So, what's the weather like in Hereford this week?
In Hereford, England for the next 7 days. Tuesday, 15 degrees Celsius and rainy weather. Wednesday, 14 degrees and partly sunny weather. Thursday, 18 degrees and rainy weather. Friday, 17 degrees and rainy weather. Saturday, 15 degrees and showers. Sunday, 15 degrees and showers. Monday, 16 degrees and partly sunny weather.
Okay. Okay, sounds like a bit of rain on the way. I think we need it. I'm doing a coaching on Thursday. Unfortunately, it'll be a bit wet, but I don't think that's going to matter. It'd be good, in fact, with a bit of water coming up. As I say, most rivers need a bit of rain, I think, to freshen it up a little bit. Although saying that, when the rivers are low, it seems to be fishing quite well. I've noticed, the river's Severn, the Wye, the Trent, So, my first guest of the evening, Dave Cullen. Hi, Dave. All right. Love watching your videos. You're from Dublin. Okay. Yes. Ireland. Yeah, it reminds me of Ireland. I used to travel there frequently to fish the Enniskillen matches up in North, and used to bump into my old friend Kevin Ashurst and a few of the other lads, and we used to have some great time up there. Yeah, memories that last a lifetime, and a big learning curve as well. In them days for me, a lot of the things that we use over there, we use quite often over here now. So anyway, hope you're doing well, Dave. And obviously, I don't know where you're fishing, Ireland. Let's have a look. The Newry Canal. That's I'm taking the Dublin area now. The Blackwater, I think. Yeah, that's where I remember fishing once. And is it the Ban? I think I fished the River Ban as well. I remember catching a big 6-pound bream there. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right, lads. As I say, nice to see a few people coming on. Oh, is it the River Suck? Is it? Okay. All right. Okay, Dave. Yeah. Yeah. What type of fish you catch there? Is it roach? I suppose it's roach, bream. Don't think you get chub and dace there, do you? I don't think so. No, because islands, there's a few fish you don't catch there that obviously we catch here in the UK and on the mainland, I should say. Roach, bream. I thought so. Rudd and perch. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I guess that was right. Okay. Oh, another one. Evening, Clive from Ram Platter 97. That's obviously a pseudonym, not your real name, but it's great. As I say, surprising these vlogs. I started off a couple of weeks ago now, and I was having them on a Friday, but one of the subscribers mentioned that Dave Taylor, I know he's not a match angler, but Des Taylor, I should say, Des Taylor, does one on Facebook. So I thought, well, rather than clash with him, I didn't, because I'm sure there's anglers who would like to see us both, I don't know any others who are doing any live question answers or vlogging. But anyway, as I say, it's to recap basically on the week and the future matches coming up, because as I say, mainly match fishing. And of course, I know there's a lot of anglers who don't go match fishing, but still watch the vlogs. And there's a few anglers abroad who quite often tune in, maybe not live, but they catch up at a later time, which is great. I mean, last week I think I had 1,700 views, so it's quite good. And if I can pass on any information to anyone, that's great. That's what it's all about, isn't it? This day and age with social media, sharing information is so much easier now these days. Retro Rob, all right, how are you, right? Gary Webb, see you. Great result yesterday, well done. Yeah, that was a little bit out of the blue. I didn't expect it, but I'll come on to that in a minute in my vlog. Because this time of year now is when I swap venues and start to fish the River Wye. And why they don't have summer matches, I don't know. It's possibly because they can't quite get the pegs, and I think you get a lot of canoeists. I know Hereford Angling Club, they don't run matches in the summer because they got quite a big membership in their of the membership basically, and I think they prefer to have more pleasure days up there and so on, which is a shame. But anyway, the Wye, as I say, it's a great venue. I'll be talking a lot about the Wye on this vlog because obviously as it's just opened up. But what I'd like to do, obviously go past last week, just want to mention the Riverfest matches, or the final last week. Unfortunately, I didn't make it this year, but it was interesting to see. John Locke, now John is a subscriber on the Match Fishing page, and he's a friend, and I followed him, and fair dues to him, £94 a bream on the first day. Well, it's game over, isn't it, really? I mean, bream very rarely showed twice, the following day. And anyway, he took advantage of it and had £94. And another surprising was the second man was Colin Beach, who had £67 a barbel, off the Trent, which is two different species, two great weights. Of course, first and second on the first day, they're going to follow it through to the second day, because as I say, it'll never fish as well the second day. And but then saying that, my mate Adrian Whittle, he actually did catch a few bream, £37 on the second day, which dragged him up to 5th position overall. So it was nice to see Paul Passmore as well. He's a good friend of mine. I always bump into him up at Evesham. A really nice guy, Paul from Oxford Way. He came 3rd overall. These are the big prize winners here, money, of course. 4th was Cameron Hughes. He's always in the frame, always reading. And then 5th was Adrian Whittle. And surprised, Alan Scotthorne, former world champion, he come 11th. So he done quite well as well. So that was quite a good, good result then for a few of the boys, and some good money. It's a shame, as I say, that unfortunately the Trent is definitely a great river, but when you catch a huge weight on first day, then I think it's game over then, isn't it? Which is a shame. All right, who else is calling? Devon Shire. What's your real name? Because I know that's a pseudonym. Hi, Clive. Have you ever fished in Germany or Denmark? Yeah, well, I fished Denmark, yeah. When I was in the army many years ago, we had many big matches with £100 plus anglers. All right. And you fished against the Barnsley Blacks back in the early 80s. Okay. I don't think you got much match fishing, as far as I'm aware of, down in Devon. I expect that's where you're from. But I did fish Denmark. I didn't fish any of the matches, but I made my first ever videos with clean river videos in Denmark, and that's where I tried to do some teaching videos, fishing on the River Gudden. Fantastic river. I know there were some finals there of some knockout competitions, and they were brilliant. So anyway, we went to Denmark, and fabulous waters there. Very clean. Reminds you of the Wye a lot, really, because they're clean rivers. You haven't got much industry to pollute them, and you get some cracking bags of fish there. Germany, no, I didn't fish Germany because obviously in Germany, I don't know if people are aware, but you're not allowed to catch fish and keep them in a keep net and put them back. You're not allowed to put your fish back, basically. You have to kill them. And because of that, a lot of German match anglers, obviously they can't do much about it. They usually travel across the borders and fish elsewhere. A good friend of mine, Jürgen Ocklander, he was telling me, he goes to Ireland. I think he might be in Ireland now, actually. He goes to Ireland a lot fishing. But he had some great anglers. A good angler, Kremkes, Wolfgang Kremkes, twice world champion, a German angler. He was a nice guy. He passed away, unfortunately, the other year. But no, some great fishing over there. Well done on the Wye. Great to watch. Oh, right, now you're talking about my latest vlog there, Ben. Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah. Pat, hiya, Pat, again. Well done on the bread, on the Wye. Yeah, okay, I'll come on to that in a minute. Pat. John, what's baker's crumb? Difference to brown crumb. Right, I'll tell you that in a minute because I've actually got some with me. And I'll be showing you that in a minute. I'll explain a little bit about that because that's the only ground bait that actually works, perfectly every time, Derek, all right, it's Derek, is it? Oh, at least I got a name to you now, Devonshire. All right, Derek, nice to see you anyway. Evening, Clive from Jimmy Flynn. Hi, mate. Hope you're doing well. Thomas Wright, great things on the bread on the River Wye, Clive. Yeah, well, people who know me know that bread is my first line of attack on the River Wye. And as I mentioned, because this time of the year, I switch venues and I start to fish the Wye as much as I can. Some of the matches, unfortunately, are sellouts. It's a bit difficult to get in some of them. I managed to. I mean, I fished them as a kid. In fact, we used to fish the lower Wye, and then years ago we had the South Wales League, Winter League, and it was always on the Wye, mainly at Belmont. And that was before all the Midland boys. And I'll tell you a little story about that because I got friendly with Dave Harrell up at Evesham, and I persuaded Dave to come to the River Wye to fish at Belmont because I said there was some fantastic fishing there to be done. His type of fishing, stick waggler and so on. Anyway, he came up, and next thing he started writing articles, and then next thing I know, the entrance used to start to grow, and some great weights. And I got to tell you a little story about Dave Harrell because I may have mentioned before, but he drew when he first came there. He asked me what it was like in certain places, and he drew just above the railway bridge, and which is not a great area. It can, so it can catch fish. Anyway, he said to me, what's your chances? And I said, well, put it this way, Dave, if you win the match from there, I'll eat my hat. That's what I could have said, because the next thing I know, he only weighs 23 pound a dace. And I thought for a minute, I'm going to eat my hat. But thankfully, one of my fishing friends, Richard Baton, down on Peg 62 by the Scouts hut, he actually won it with chub with about 26 pounds. So he beat him. But you never know on the Wye. You can draw a peg, you think there's nothing there. Next thing, bang, loads of fish there. Yeah. And as I say, the River Wye, it's a great venue. Okay. What do we know? Jim, evening, guidelines. Thank you, mate. And you? Andrew Gad. Hi, mate. Hi, Clive. That was a great weight Sunday. You fish really well. Well done, mate. Thanks so much. In fact, I'll talk about that in a minute because somebody made a comment about about me filming and how can I fish and film at the same time. Well, it does cost me, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Derek, what about Wasp Grub? Right, I'm in old school. Used it 8 times on the Dorset Stour for chub. You love the videos. Thanks, mate. Yes, well, we started to use Wasp Grub. Hang on, I forgot to turn my phone off a second.
It's Candy.
Hello, Richard Candy. I'm on the phone a minute. I'm on the phone. I'm doing a live stream. I'll phone you back when I finished. All right, you want crumb for tomorrow? What do you want? Bream, 2 bream, and 2 crumb. All right, cheers, mate. Okay, no problem. All right, ta-ta. Yeah, sorry about that. I forgot to turn my phone off because I know last time one of the subscribers got my phone number. He kept phoning me, telling me he was Mr. Pike. In other words, he was taking the mick. The fact I kept catching his pike. So, right. Anyway, Wasp Grub. Well, basically, we used to use Wasp Grub many years ago. And of course, it got banned in a lot of places. Now, I do make a chub mix, and in my chub mix, I actually put like a grub, a honey grub, which is actually a bee. Because I used to be able to get the Wasp Grub, but unfortunately, the guy who used to work on the council used to get it for me. He can't get it anymore because he's retired. But we used to buy, the wasp nests off him. So if you've got a friendly council guy who takes the wasps out of the roofs, and parks, then it'd be worth having a word with him and see if you can freeze them up and then you can use them at a later date. But yeah, it's the pungent smell, I think, which attracts the chub. Yeah, you're right, and it is in the mix. It is in the mix that I use. So yeah, okay. Right, Andrew. Sorry, Andrew. Before you, it was Dave. Do you think you put lots of bread? Right. Do you think you put the first lots of bread too far upstream? You're talking about my video now, aren't you? Yes. Possibly. Because I wasn't expecting that. How it generally works is that you put about a yard, maybe 2 above stream. Because by the time it breaks up, it usually breaks up downstream. Now, if you throw your ground bait downstream, it's going to be way down past your peg, too far. So the idea is to put it in just a yard, 2 yards above. And that way, then it breaks. And of course, what happened on this video, yesterday's video, is the fact that the chub just homed in onto it. And of course, I was catching, and sometimes the fish actually go above it, still looking for food. So there's a little bit of a mistake there, but not really, because I'll explain a little bit the reason why I do that in a minute. So Dave, come back to me in a minute on that one. Andrew, all right, Andrew, and most of your matches on the Y Opens. Well, yes and no. They have opens, but they're generally like winter leagues. Hereford run a few matches. There are a couple of opens, like the White Chatty is an open match. The White Championships is an open match, but it's first come, first served. It's usually a sellout. So there are there are opens, and there's also, sort of close matches. So you just have to see if you can get in on any of them. There's a pairs coming up as well soon. So I think it's, you put your name down, for pairs. There's also another spring league, what they call the spring league on there. Dave Roberts runs that. Unfortunately, Dave's got COVID this weekend, so he didn't turn up for the organising the match yesterday. So anyway, I hope that's answered your question, Andrew. Kevin, hi Kevin. Have you ever tried incorporating a swim feeder into a sliding float rig? Have I? No, I don't think I have. I know we used to on the Y, we used to put a swim feeder on our floats on a flat float and have a little rig on it, when the water's up. Yeah, that definitely works. usually with a bit of colour in the water, when the water's up a bit. The Avon, there was another place, the Severn. Yeah, so yes, we have, but not in a way that you've asked the question. Um, you know, not on a slide and float rig. But I suppose it would work as long as it was sort of under your rod tips, if you know what I mean. I can't see that working out because the toe and I don't know. It might work on still waters, but no, it's something I haven't really done, Kevin. No. Andrew Smith, hi. What's your favourite hook pattern for fishing on rivers? Well done, yes, thank you. Well, it's funny because this year I've been trying the different hook patterns. For a few years, I was using the Matrix Super Match, and they were super sharp, super thin, very good hook, brilliant hook. Probably the best hook I've ever used, but unfortunately, Matrix stopped supplying them. They didn't make them because obviously they all come from Japan and China. But yeah, the Matrix it was. But now I'm going back to some old favorites like Kamasans, and I tried the new Brown and Spears, for example. They seem quite good. But Drennan do a couple of good hooks as well, but mainly Kamasan. So I've gone back to the old Kamasan B511s and 612s and things like that. So yeah, I usually use spade end. I use eyed hooks when I'm bread fishing. Because it's much easier to use. Although, yes, I use spade end. So. Okay, right. So let me come to a few other questions that a couple of people have asked me over the week. Right. As I said, going back to the Riverfest, that's a great match to get into, boys. If you're prepared to travel a few and go around the country, then great. Good luck to you. But me, I just stick to a couple, and if I get through, I get through. If I don't, I don't. As I did mention, I got through 3 years running. In fact, I think I got through 4 times now, but last couple of years. But I'm not. I'm in good company, so I know that a couple of other good anglers haven't got through on that either. So yeah. Right. Right then. Okay. Stephen Peters, how are you, mate? Okay. Well, first of all, then I want to talk a little bit about my pleasure coaching day last Thursday. Now, I took an angler that's been with me a few times before. And anyway, we fished a stretch down at Ain, which is because the river's shallow, and I would look for a couple of pegs that had a bit of paste to them, So basically, we found 2 pegs that, look quite good. So anyway, I did call it the Woody's tackle shop, and he gave me a bit of advice on it as well, and also Dave Roberts, because obviously this time of year you don't know because the fish. I feel the fish are packed up in certain areas, and then when it rains, when a bit of colour, the fish spread out a bit more, like. So anyway, so I took him. We went to this stretch, and basically, I thought I'd do a little vlog for the camera, and one of the subscribers, James, actually said, "Great, you don't go match fishing, but he likes to," and he asked me, would I do more of those sort of vlogs and videos? So I said, yeah, I probably will do. I'll probably do a couple on there. It makes a change, doesn't it? Because as I mentioned, and funny enough, James also mentioned, how can I make a video, a vlog, and I'm match fishing? And he's quite right, because when I think back, it has cost me. It's cost me fish. It's cost me time, obviously, with setting it up, and also when I switch it on and off with one thing or another. And I could possibly cost me a place or two, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I'm going to improve. I enjoy my fishing. I enjoy my mat fishing, and I like to be able to, if you like, pass on information. And don't forget, I make a few bob at it. Not a lot, from YouTube. That's when the adverts come in, and I'm going to ask all my subscribers, if you do watch a video, and an advert comes up, try and watch it if you can. I know you might not buy it or whatever, but if you every advert that comes up, I get like a fraction of a penny, and which helps if you like me at the end of the month. Then they send me a check, so that's another reason I do it. So anyway, cat's out the bag now, isn't it? But as I say, I enjoy doing it anyway. So anyway, that was right. One other thing I've got to mention now: some subscribers give me a thumb down. That's fine. I don't mind. But tell me why. Explain why is it. Because I wanted some feedback as well. I want people to say, well, I didn't particularly like what you said or what you're doing or whatever, and that's the reason I give you the thumbs down. Now I know I got one or two. How should I say? I wouldn't call them, well, they friends, I suppose they have, but they wind me up and they do it deliberately, so just to wind me up, I'm sure they do. Anyway, but I would like to know if you don't like a particular vlog for some reason, and you put a thumbs down, just tell me why you do it. That's all. Just nice to know, isn't it? Okay. Right now, on the pleasure day, I went through a lot of little tactics and methods, and I had a question from Brian. Do I feed hemp or hemp when I'm fishing the meat over hemp? Well, that is one of the popular methods. A lot of people use that, and yes, it's hemp. Is a great attractor, and I've always used it. You put pouches in on the river, and it just floats away. It's like ground baiting, basically. And if you fish, a particle with it, then it works. And then it works with meat in particularly well because that hemp does attract barbel and chub. And if you ever catch any, you see it down their guts, so they're actually eating, the hemp. But obviously, when they see a big chunk, like a bit of meat, they'll take it. So yes, I do feed hemp. Well, I was going to start feeding hemp yesterday, but I didn't. But on the pleasure match, I did. I put a load of hemp in and maggots. And if you watch the vlog, you see a lot of fish topping. And they were even the dace were taking the hemp. I could look down the throat because that's how you tell if they're eating any fish. And chub in particular, I'll tell you what they're eating because when you catch them, they regurgitate it. They spit it back out. I don't know whether there's a sort of a defense mechanism to say, I don't want to be caught, but here's all the food I've ate, and it comes back up, So yeah, but if you also look down a chub's throat when you catch it, and it's got nothing inside, then you're not filling them up. There must be plenty of fish there to be caught. But if you notice that they do start coughing it up, like for example yesterday in the match, by the end of the match, every fish I was catching were coughing it up. They cough up maggots from somebody who'd been feeding maggots upstream, for example. Because I didn't fish a maggot yesterday. Well, I did, but not enough to to worry about. So yes. Hemp is a great attractor, and you can feed anything with it. I think one of the guys on a week before said he put 10 pints in. Now, I can't imagine putting 10 pints in. I think 3 or 4 pints would be enough, over a 5-hour match, to be honest. To put 10 pints in, you'd have to lash it in, and I mean lash in, so I don't think you need to put that much in. Paul Collins, I don't know if you're watching, Paul, but yes, Thursday I'm doing a coaching video there. And you say you want to try a different venue, a different stretch. I don't mind if you want to go for barbel. But of course, bear in mind, if we're going to go for barbel, we won't be flow fishing. We'll be, sitting there for hours waiting for a bite. So if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm happy. But if you want to, if you want to show that, if you want me to do other methods and tactics, we'll see on the day anyway when you turn up. Okay. Rusty Greaves, he said. This is a very good question. How long do I fish the bread, and at what time do I ever switch? Well, now my tactic on the Y, I always start with the bread. I'm from the old school because that's how we used to always fish it years ago, up the upper Y and the lower Y. Now, what you'll find, it's like bread punch fishing. The fish will respond quite quickly. Within 5, 10 chucks, putting balls of ground bait and bread, and it's irresistible. And people feed ducks and swans, and there's always in the water. They know what it is for some reason. I mean, the bit I fished yesterday, I don't think anyone's ever thrown any bread in up there, but they knew what it was and they ate it. They were gorging themselves on it. So yeah, so you'll find that if you start off on the bread and you keep fishing the bread and they keep coming on the bread, then don't change. Stick to the bread. You can later on maggots, corn, and meat or whatever you fancy. But I always start on the bread and stick to the bread, and you will notice, or I did notice on the match yesterday that the bigger chub, only slightly bigger, were probably an ounce or two bigger than the ones I was catching on the corn and the maggot. So yeah, so definitely that. And oh, you also mentioned Joe Brennan. Now, I did say I would tell you the story because a few years ago, Joe Brennan was one of the master anglers on bread fishing. And I remember reading this article in the Angling Times, and he had won the White Championships the year before. Anyway, lo and behold, this particular year, I drew next. I drew next to him, and we drew down the. Now these Y matches in them days were like 100, 200 peggers. It were massive, or 300 peggers. It was massive all the way through the Y. And we were drawn right down at Kapler, which is right down the bottom, below Found Open below that, which is like right way down. Anyway, I went there, drew there, and lo and behold, who drew next to me was Joe Brennan. He was above me, and I thought, oh my God. I got my work cut out here because I'm a bread angler, and he's just written this article, and he won it the year before. I think the White Championships. So I got my work cut out. Anyway, the match started. I put my balls in with a catapult. Joe above me only went out on the feeder. I don't know what's he doing. Anyway, next thing I know, I'm catching away. I ended up with 84-pounder chub, and poor Joe, he had a good weight. He had 50-pound. But he stuck on that feeder for some reason. I couldn't understand why. Maybe the water was too fast. I don't know for him. But anyway, and I thought, I thought at the time that was most strange. And yeah, but great angler, Joe. Yeah, he unfortunately don't fish these days anymore. I think his health is letting down and that. But yeah, but that was a story I had to tell you about that. Yeah. Right. Also, oh yeah, one of the subscribers, Luciasis, I think, I don't know how you pronounce it. He mentioned about plumbing the depth on the river. Now, yes, if you use a plummet, fine, you can plumb the depth in front of you or just downstream, a yard or two out or a few yards down. But if you're fishing 25, 30 yards out in the middle or across, you try putting a plummet on and do what you can. Well, you can, but the trouble is with the river, you got these troughs and and it deepens or shallows further up or down the swim. So the idea is, I always trot through a float without a hook on until the float basically starts, and the bottom shot starts hitting the bottom. So the float is sort of going like this along the bottom. Then I'll just bring the float down the line, up in the water. And then when it runs through without that float, without the float stopping, I know I'm roughly on the bottom. So then I'll put the hook on then. Okay. And then even then, after my first or second chuck, I might even come up higher again because they do come up in the water when you're bread fishing. So that's the reason why I don't use, a plummet, if you like, on that sort of fishing when you're fishing that far out. Okay, so it's a little tip, and that can be used anywhere, by the way, if you do that way. Right. Oh, yes. And also, Pat said, how did my guest get on that pleasure day? Because I didn't mention it, but no, he ended up with double figures. He didn't end up with me, of course, but it's a big improvement of when he first started coming with me. When he first started coming with me, I mean, he didn't do well at all. But now, he can hold his own, and he does catch a few fish. So anyway, so yeah, that was thanks for the question anyway. Okay, right, where are we? Any other questions come in so far? What from Andrew? Why is Stephen Peters? Hi, mate. Right, Andrew. What? Tough matches. Yeah, was that you were coaching? What was that you coaching? Okay, and what did you catch, Clive? As some tough matches at Staverton. Oh yeah, I know. I fished Staverton, and um, it's a funny place. I think it's an evening venue, to be honest, because the fish seems to come on a bit. Now, I was talking to one of the lads, and in fact, he won a couple. I won't mention his name, Craig, but he actually waits till the last hour before and he'll sit there and hardly fish at all, and just keep feeding and feeding, and then come in on the last hour, and it comes up in the water trying to catch those chub. But yeah, Staverton is hard, and I noticed when I fished it, the lower numbers, I come second on one match down there. I think Neil Richards beat me on the one match, but there's on the first 3 or 4 pegs on the bottom, they're always good pegs. I drew the chub peg as well, which was, when they say the chub peg, it's noted because it's got like this tree that hangs over, and I remember catching some chub off that one, and also done well further up. But yeah, it's a hard venue that. I wish I could fish a bit more, and I would get to know it a bit better. But yeah, you're right there, Andrew. Right. You also say Hadrian Mittle's some angler, Clive. He will be hard to beat on the wire. I mentioned that, as you noticed on the vlog, because Adrian, I would class Adrian as one of the top match anglers in the country, and he's proved that wherever he's going, he's doing well. But he's learned his trade on the wire, and he is very hard to beat. I mean, every time a couple of times I used to go up there during the midweek a couple of years ago, he was always up there, so he practiced like mad, and he's got it right, when you see the weights from yesterday, the big weights, but if you notice, the lads who got the big weights, they're no mugs. They always catch a little bit more than the other man, and that's usually because their ability and also, practice and one thing or another, Hi, Kevin Rogers. Hi, mate. In years gone by, I remember great river anglers filling the river on the Evesham. Yeah, weekend, not bagging with dace. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, dace and chub, etc. Yeah. Do you think it would work now as anglers seem to feed less every year? Do you know that's quite possible? That's something, Kevin, I would like to try myself. Obviously you can't do it in a match. You got to go with the flow. You got to go, because I tell you what happened this year. I didn't go up there early on season, and I went out a little bit later. And of course, I was playing catch up then. I didn't realize what was, if you like, what was working. But if you notice my vlog in the last 4 or 5 matches, I was in the frame every time. I was just out the frame or won the sector because I eventually sussed out some methods. But that is definitely one thing I would like to possibly try and do one day, and that basically go for it. But I don't know. That Ave is a funny old place. Dave, have you any tales of old Fred the bread? Oh right, yeah. All right. Well, no, I didn't know. I tell you what, Dave. I remember going back 25 years ago, and because I fished the bread a lot on the Wye, I remember 2 of the lads, my mate, Clive Robertson, Ken, and Doug Hornblow, that's right. They went up to Bewdley to fish a match. And they come back and they said, hey, you should go up there, Clive. They're catching chub. I'm sure the bread would work. Anyway, so I thought, well, okay, I'll come up. So I went up there then a following week, and I took the bread and the bread loaves. Anyway, I went there and I didn't know where I drew. I just went there and I started putting balls in. I started catching chub like this. And I think halfway through the match, I looked behind me and there was a big audience, about 20 odd people watching me. And anyway, cut long story short, I won the match with bread. And afterwards, they were telling me the last man to win a match on the River Severn was Fred Bailey, Fred the Bread, they call him. And I thought that was a great honour. Anyway, funny thing was, I went back the following week done the same again and come fourth. But the funny thing was, when I got there, I seen all the anglers all with loaves of bread with them. So the word got round very, very quickly. But anyway, I didn't go again for years. It's only about 5 years ago I started going back up to 7 at Bewdley, and I did try it once or twice, and it hasn't really worked. Like, you know, I don't know whether the rivers change a lot now, innit? Because in them days there weren't babble around, you know. And yeah, so yeah, old Fred the bread from Kidderminster, Fred Bailey, yeah. I remember him. Alan Davis, sorry mate. What are your best fish, Clive? I've been lucky to catch a 2 pound 4 ounce roach and a 3 pound 4 ounce perch. Oh, that's some good decent fish, those, yeah. Funny enough, my biggest roach was on the bread on the way, and that was 2 pound 1. So you've beat me there by 3 ounces. Perch, that's a good perch, yeah. I don't think I've had a 3 pound perch, I've had a 2 pound perch. So yeah, you've got some specimens there, Alan, fair dues. I got to tell you as well, you know, talking about Evesham, I remember fishing a match. I was one above the bridge only a couple of years ago, and I was looking down in the water, and I seen this perch about, I thought, you know, right under my rod tip. It's quite clear. I thought, well, that's a big perch. I thought. Anyway, following it was a massive perch, the biggest perch I've seen in my life. It must have been, no, seriously, it must have been 5, 6 pound at least. I've never seen a perch that size. And of course, I tried dobbing him, like, you know, put the worm in front, but he just went. It was the biggest perch I've ever seen. I wonder if anyone ever caught that perch. It's a massive fish, honestly. Never seen one like it. You know, I've seen pictures of them, obviously, you know, where people, but I've never actually seen one live. Hi, Stephen. Stephen Peters. I fished the Avon on Sunday, fishing very hard, very low and clear. Was it? Oh, yeah. Well, this is it. See, this is why we need that bit of rain, don't we? You know. Anyway, so that was a few questions asked during the pleasure day, as I said, and I got another one now this day, so I might do another one then, if they allow me. The lads have taken. Okay, now yesterday's match. Now. It was a charity match, and it's run every year, and it's got a big turnout, you know. It was an open match; anyone could have fished it, you know. But unfortunately, I think a few people did drop out at the end. I'm not sure exactly how many fish. I thought there was going to be 100 there, but I don't think there was quite 100 there in the end. You know. Anyway, a couple of questions were asked. One of the subscribers asked about hooks. What hooks do I use? Do I use barbless or not? No, I actually use Kamasan, you know, big hooks, size 6, 8, and 10. And what I do is pinch the barb down. I don't take the barb off completely, but I pinch it down so at least there's something on it, you know. So yeah, so I don't use barbless. I don't know why, but you know, I have lost a lot of fish on barbless hooks on the Y, so I do tend to use a micro barb. Okay, don't harm the fish at all. So yeah, so that's yeah, that's one thing. Right. Oh, right. Now this is a good one. This is a good one. This Raymond Hines. He said, have I ever tried baiting when I'm using bread, putting a couple of maggots on the hook? Yes. I did say, yes, I have, because was an old dodge we used to use many years ago. When you're fishing the bread, because, you know, you're only pinching the bread on the top of the shank. And when you cast out, and sometimes it lands and you're going through the water, sometimes the bread might come off or you might strike and it means you've got to reel it all the way in. Well, the trick is to put 2 maggots on, okay? So when you pinch the bread, the maggots would be hidden anyway. Okay, so, but if the bread ever come off, you still got 2 maggots left on the hook. And that was a dodge that we used to use, you know, a trick we used to use years ago. And you know, I completely forgot about that until, you know, until Raymond mentioned it on the vlog. And it's a trick I may have missed yesterday. Perhaps I may have caught the extra few fish. I may have caught a bleak or 2, but it don't matter. Fish is a fish, isn't it? You know. But yeah, no, that's a little tip, and I think it's definitely worth anyone listening. You know, if you're fishing the bread, you know, tip it off with a maggot or 2, And if the bread comes off, you should have got some maggots on the hook. So it's a great tip, and thanks for reminding me, Raymond. Well done. Okay. Also, James mentioned now about the filming, and I've already mentioned that about filming and how can I cope doing the two, fishing a competition and the way that. But that's why sometimes when I'm making my vlogs, I may not speak, because I'm concentrating a lot, and sometimes I can't always check the camera to see if it's filming correctly. I can't always check to see if the sound is always on. So it's one of the things you have to bear with me. As I say, I'm a one-man band, as James said. I do it all myself. I've got nobody filming me. So I try and place. Although I have got a new camera, which I should have tried out yesterday, which is a body cam, but I didn't have time to put it on. So when you're busy, like I was yesterday in a match, and I was busy for 5 hours catching fish on and off, and so it is difficult to. So I'm hoping and praying that sometimes when I set the cameras up, it's all working fine, and I'm concentrating on the fishing. But I will, try my best, obviously, for you, and try and give you, if you like, a more of an update of what's happening, and double checking the camera and so on. So yeah. Right, now I've got another question, Danny. Now Danny said, upstream, isn't that allowed? Well, yes and no. You're allowed. And if the old NFA rules state that you can go a yard above you. Okay, well, when I used to fish the Y years ago, of course, we used to have miles of water. Nobody ever complained because you weren't packed, not like you would say down at Belmont or place like that. And yesterday it was the same. The next angler was like 200 yards or 100 yards above. So it doesn't make no difference whether you went a yard above or 2 or 3. It doesn't matter, And I suppose also it comes. A lot of anglers these days, for some reason, they fish downstream. They'll cast and bait downstream. Well, to me, you're feeding the other guy's swim, or you're taking his fish off him, or you're not helping him at all. I think you should fish at least in front of you and down. But it comes to the World Championships because international. I don't know if you know, you're given a zone. Okay, you're given a space of 15 yards. Now you can go anywhere in that space. You can go in the middle, the bottom, the top, doesn't matter. But as long as you fish, and you're not allowed to throw your bait or outside of that area, that zone, above or below, you got to keep everything contained. Which reminds me of the time when I first fished the World Championships on the Watcher Haven at Luddington, 1982, and I was drawn down the. I was on the end section anyway. Now, because the river naturally flows left to right, I automatically thought, well, I'm going to go on the top of my peg, my zone, and fish down. So I got the full, use of the swim, so to speak. Anyway, of course, the anglers on both sides of me would go in the middle, and they fish in like this, left to right all the time, So anyway, it didn't matter. So I started off, and I started loose feeding, and I started catching these chub right down the bottom of my swim. Well, lo and behold, the angler below me see this, and he moved then from the middle of his section right up to the top, which basically was on the bottom of my bit, and he started catching my bloody fish. It took, I got him all feeding. I beat him, but it just goes to show you that, it was a bit of a naughty situation that was. But yes, I think a lot of anglers should learn, if you like, what I do, and that is to try and fish in front of you down. And the other thing was, when you start catching fish slightly upstream, I don't know if you ever hook a fish. It's not easy to bring in. So when you hook it, it's much, because if you hook a fish downstream, it's always fighting. You're always fighting against it. It's always pulling away from you. Now, if you hook a fish slightly upstream, it automatically, naturally tries to swim downstream anyway. So it comes towards you much easier. And if you notice how I was hooking my fish, bringing them around, and they were coming in so easy, And as I say, if you can learn to do that, then, great. But if not, stick to your methods, if you like. I had a young lad watching me, and he was always taught to fish downstream. Now I noticed on Belmont, on a couple of matches, some of the anglers, they're casting right downstream, and they're cutting out all their swim, and they're probably ruining it for the angler below them. But that's up to them at the end of the day. Okay, but that's a good question, that one. Yeah, well done, Danny. Right then, let's have a look at more questions coming in. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Of course, Kevin. Yeah, I know we were talking about baggage, so I got to digress then. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were good old days. Lots of fish being caught then. Alan Davis, what are the best fish? Yeah, I've done that one. Yeah. Stephen Peters, fish David on Sunday. Yeah. Okay. And now Scott. Hi, mate. What conditions would you use bread feeder as opposed to a maggot feeder? Okay. Well, you know, I tell you what, a few years ago, when I used to fish at Gloucester quite a lot, we'd always start on a little bread feeder, and you'd always catch a roach or two in the first few minutes of the match, always, and that saved any dry nets then. It's something you can use on most waters, really, where there's roach or little chublets and things, and little skimmers. I would probably only fish it when it's clear, though. It don't seem to work so much when you've got flood, water. It can produce when a bit of colour in the water, of course, like bread always does. So yeah, it's worth trying. It's the sort of thing that I would probably use on hard fish waters. When because you're not going to really bag up, you're not going to really win any matches with that method. You know what I mean? But it saves blanks and it does catch you a few fish. I mean, I'm sure other anglers might disagree with that. I know up on the D, for example, they used to fish it all match, and probably did work for them, but I particularly wouldn't. Okay, who's that? Mick. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. At least I know you're here. Matt Edward, hi, mate. Why do you think the Thames didn't fish as well as expected 3 weeks ago? And what are your reasons for holding feeder rod for so long instead of pulling it in the rest? I was peg above. Okay. Right. Now, I don't know which part of the Thames you're talking about, Martin. Are you talking about the Tide Fest or the Thames festival? I'm not sure. I think you might be talking about the lower Thames. I don't know about that. I don't really know that well. I can't really explain. I know when I spoke to Keith Arthur, he told me about all these bags of dace they were catching, and I should bring a stick float with me, and I did that this year. I actually brought a stick float, and I even had a go with it. Oh yes, the Tide Fest. Okay, yeah, talking about that. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest, Martin. I don't know the water that well. Why all I know is that it looks to me it's an out and out bream venue. The way it is, because obviously the bream weights. I know the year before, I think there was 15 pound of roach caught from the Barnes area, but this year I don't think it fished as well. I don't know. Maybe it's the state of the river these days. Maybe it's because it's low. And bear in mind, I think the lower reaches of a river, they get all the effluent, if you know what I mean, coming in the water. Further up the rivers you are, the cleaner the rivers are, and there's less chance of effluent going in the water. And also, I think, there's when you're up country, like Hereford is, I would classify it as mid to upper, and the water's very clear there, and there's not much industry with the pollutants going in the water. I think from Hereford down there, then it starts to get a bit worse, But then I don't know, Martin, really. I think it didn't fish. It didn't have the big weights that they used to have. I know that. As you know, that at the end, Peg one, was it Peg one? I think it was by the bridge. He bagged up, didn't he? But there's fish to be caught, Martin. I mean, I think although I won a section and I was 5th overall on that match, but I think I missed a trick there, because what happens there, I remember Mike telling me, Mike Martin, he used to go out in the flow and he would stay in that flow. Even as he walked down, he'd line clip it, then he'd unclip it as he walked down. So he was always in the same spot. And I think I missed a little trick there a little bit because I had to move spots, if you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah, it's a great venue though, isn't it? I mean, it's intriguing. It's different than anywhere else that we fish. Okay, all right. Just going to talk a little bit about the breadcrumb because I had a question earlier on about the breadcrumb. What's the difference between baker's crumb and brown crumb you get from the shops? Well, right, baker's crumb basically it's the sliced loaf. It's the slicing you get from the bakeries, from the bakers, right? Now, years ago, I had a contract, me and a friend of mine, we used to have a contract with a local bakery. We used to have tons of stuff every week, and it was cheap as chips. Unfortunately, they say you can't get it because most of it's all tied up with contractors, with pig farms and so on. But baker's crumb is it's got more fat in it, and when you mix it, it actually makes a beautiful mix. Unlike the shop bought commercial brown crumb that is purposely manufactured, and there's less fat in it. It's finer, and when you mix it, it clogs like solid. Not like this, not like baker's crumb. And baker's crumb basically. Now, in my mix, I don't know if you can actually see this, but in my mix, I put a bit of blood, honey, as I mentioned. I've got some floating particles in there, which helps to, attract the chub. And as I say, it's quite a nice sweet smell to it, and it's easy to mix. If you smell it, you can smell it. It's and the chub love it. I mean, they if they could eat it, they would. But of course, when it goes in the water, it disperses. But the flavour and the clouds is in the water. And the secret is, when you're bread fishing, is to make that cloud. Okay, so when you throw it or catapult it, it explodes, if you like, and makes a big cloud in the water. And the idea then is to throw your bread flake into the middle of it, and with other particles that I do, anyway, put bits of particle of the bread into the mix. So when it all goes down together, the chub obviously scoff it, and they smell the bread in the water without able to eat it. So therefore, they'll go for the big chunky bits that you got, and especially the bit on your hook. And as I say, it's a great combination. People don't bread fish rivers. This is what you have to do, and I think it's great. Certainly it works on the white. I love it. I did work on the 7 years ago. You probably still do it if I went up there and tried it, and I'm sure it'll work on other places where there's chub. So yeah, it's a little tip for you there. Okay, Martin, you're welcome. Chris Bull, mate. Clive, Fish Beauty last week. Our annual Bible trip. Okay, was shocked with the weed. Right, this is a good question. Shocked the weeds have disappeared, plus the roach seemed to have gone, but plenty of perch plus pike tax. Yeah, I know what you're talking about with those pike tax. Right, Chris, let me tell you, this is not just on the 7, mate. This is everywhere, even on the Y, even on the rivers down by me. The weeds disappearing. Now, the theory is, we reckon it's the farmers putting chemicals on the land, killing weed. And that's getting into the rivers and basically killing the weed. Now, this is going to be a major problem thing because obviously fish rely on that as their natural source of food and protection and for spawning. So there's going to be, I think we've got to watch this space on this one because, as I said, it's if you notice on a lot of rivers, the weed is just disappearing, and it is a worrying fact. Now, why are we catching perch and pike? Well, again, I mentioned this last week. I think it's down to the fact that the water's a lot clearer now these days, and that because we haven't had much rain, and a lot of predatory fish are taking advantage of it, and they're attacking everything that moves on your hook. I don't know if you watched last week, but I done a little bit talk about bringing the fish in very quietly. In fact, one of the subscribers, which I made a note of his name now, mentioned about centre pin reels. And like using a centre pin reel, you're bringing in the fish a lot slower than you would with a fixed spool reel. And consequently, that fish is coming in not stressed. So the pike is less likely to attack it. You see, because what I mentioned, Chris, is the fact that pike are very visual and they'll attack fish that are in stress. And if it's on your hook and it's, moving around as you're reeling it in, you cannot reel that fish in quicker than it can swim, right? Now, a pike knows this. A pike will never chase a healthy fish because you know we've got no chance of catching it. But if it's in stress and reeling and turning on the hook, it's going to take it. So yeah, if you didn't watch that vlog, go back and watch it, and I do explain a little bit about it. But yes, that is a worrying thing, Chris, about the weed. Yeah. Andrew Gadd, hi mate. Do you think, Clive, that at the age at 67 should we still be using a rope to get down to swims? It took me 35 minutes on the Avon at Swinford last year fishing commercial houses to get a bank. Well, this is something I've been advocating for a few years now, Andrew. We should all take, if you're fishing rivers these days, we should all take a rope with us, right? Now, a rope actually saved my life last year. I was at Belmont and I was fished. The river came up, it was in flood conditions, and they decided to put a peg in that they don't normally put in. And I was on a very small, slippery perch to fish. So I got a rope, and I always do it out of habit now. And it's a rope with you can buy them. They're used for dogs, leads, and they're big spinal things that you can screw into the ground. Or failing that, you can tie a rope around the tree or something above you and just let it dangle there. You may never ever use it, the rope, but it's there as a safety measure. But anyway, I fell in, slipped in tonight, and I can't swim. People laugh at me when they say a world champion can't swim. Anyway, but I managed to grab this rope as I fell in, and it saved me from getting washed away in this high water. So I managed to get out, thankfully. Now, other times you use it is, of course, when you're going up and down a steep bank, it's a pulley. You can help yourself and pull yourself up. So, yeah, I definitely advocate, and I still do. And in fact, I notice a lot of anglers now are using these ropes, so please take a rope with you. Excuse me. Whenever you go on a river, tie it up ready just in case. You may never use it, but it's there for you anyway. Okay, that's all I can say, Andrew. And yeah, it's a good. Oh yeah. So I'm sorry to take my minutes at the Avon, to get the bank. Well, I don't know if you've seen the vlog yesterday. One guy, it was like sheer drop almost. He had little steps down there, but without a rope, I don't think he could have got up and down. No, I'm sure you wouldn't have. I mean, I had a rope yesterday. You didn't see it, but it was on the side. But it was easy for me to climb up the side there. So yeah. Always carry one. Only a couple of quid, and if it's going to save your life one day, why not? Always carry it in your bag. Okay, Kevin, hi mate again. I phoned you a couple of weeks ago about some. Oh yeah, long stick floats. Just wonder if you had any joy with materials. Yeah, right, Kevin. Right. I'm glad you reminded me, to be honest, because I've been busy the last few weeks. Because you had a couple off me before, if I remember, and you said they were great for you. Yeah, fishing the 7. Okay, I'll look into that, Kevin. As soon as I come off the vlog, I'll go and see. Because what I'm using, I'm using like paintbrush. Paintbrush is the stems and the balsas. I splice them and put them in the balsas. Yeah. So I'll check to see if I got some there, and if I have, then I'll get back to you on that. And thanks for reminding me anyway. Jake, I mate. Could you explain the waggler rigs on winders? I remember seeing a vlog of you from a good while ago. That you did this, and how would you go about doing it, and is there a benefit? Okay, right. Now, I'll tell you the story again, Jake. Right. Well, basically what happened many years ago, when I fished in the World Championships, I was in Sweden at the time, and I never forget, I was fishing an Avon float, an aim float across the river. And I was catching and I was beating the anglers on both sides of me. Anyway, they're very clever, and obviously they seen what I was doing. Anyway, he went into his hold all, and lo and behold, he had a rod with a all set up with a float, top and bottom float already made up. Now, this is before we even thought the ideas of putting our rigs up on rods and put them in, rod holdalls with our rigs already set up. So anyway, at the time, I thought that's a great idea. I know what I'll do. I'll start putting my wagglers and winders on winders just in case I ever need them, like we do with the pole floats, basically. So anyway, I done a load of them. And I've done all my sticks, my wagglers, and anyway, the benefit of it, well, I think it was a year or 2 years after that, I was fishing the World Championships in France, and it was a split venue. The first day we're on a canal, a big riverside, the River Rhine, and then the next day we were on a canal. Anyway, we couldn't practice on the canal, but we didn't do any practice at all, really. But anyway, when we fished the 2 days, the first day was great. I mean, it was a pole, it was pole fishing, and we caught some bream, and I actually won that match, by the way. But the second day, we were on the canal, and I didn't set anything up, but I didn't know. Nobody even mentioned there was chub in the water, and all I remember is that we set the pole rigs up on a shallowish canal. It's like the Gloucester, but obviously it was only about 6-7 foot deep at the most, and we were fishing the bloodworm. Anyway, halfway through the match, one of the lads come along and said, "Hey, somebody just caught one of the Scottish lads just caught a chub on a waggler." I said, "Oh no, don't tell me that. I haven't got it set up." So I thought, right, I'll do. Look at my bag quickly, got my rod out, had a waggler on a winder, tied it up quickly. It took me less than a minute to set the whole thing up, 2 minutes at the most, I would say. I'm out catching chub, and I come second in the world championship. I had the silver medal, all because I had a waggler on a winder. So yes, sometimes you can't have all these rods set up, can you? You haven't got the time to set them up, and you can't. But if you've got your floats on winders, yeah, so simple then. And tying them on, there's many ways to do it. I just use a simple water knot, but I leave. How can I explain it? I'll tie it twice, but I'll leave the last bit still in the loop before I pull it tight. If that makes sense. I'll have to do a diagram and show you that how it actually works. Well, that is a strong knot then. Okay. Just cut it off, you got a little bit of a knot there on the line, obviously, but it's pretty strong. And in fact, those fish I caught yesterday, 45-pound of chub, that float was on a winder. I was too lazy to set it up from scratch, so I put it as part of the winder. So, and it didn't let me down once, did it? So yeah. So as I say, floats on winders, excellent. If you haven't got the time and you're rushing, you want to, you've got loads of tackle, and you can set up all different rigs and everything. I remember writing an article about it in the Angling Times and many years ago, and next thing I know, other people were writing about it and that. So yeah, as I said the other week, I like to think I was a little bit of a pioneer in my younger days, and hopefully still am in a way, So yeah, great question, and yeah, definitely worth doing it, Chris, hi Chris, Clive. I'm guessing you used rope to get a peg 40 at Bewley, yeah? When you went upstream then. I think you must have known that, because no, I didn't. That was the only bloody time I ever took a rope with me. I wish I had, because it'd been a lot easier to get down that peg. Cool. I had to sort of, shimmer down on my ass. Oh, excuse the French. But no, yeah, I know what you're saying, Chris, but should have took the rope on that one. John, waggler on winders. Benefit is when using float gripper stops, you don't have to set up and take down every session. That's true, yeah. So what you do, you say, yeah. So after your session, just put it on a big winder. I got some big winders, I use, and you can actually either put a loop on it or with this insulation tape to finish off, and then just put them in your box. Yeah. In fact, if you look at my old photograph on my float fishing encyclopedia, you'll see me on Roth Park, and I'm demonstrating them there. And I got about half a dozen um, sort of cases full of them, where I used to do it all the time. Yeah. So yeah, great. As I say, I remember Jan Porter, rest in peace. He wrote about it once. He put his stick floats on winders as well, and that was after, of course, my article as well. So yeah, it's great. Okay, right. Well, we've been on for an hour and a bit now, lads. I don't know if there's any more questions you want to ask, but as I say, the chatty match yesterday, great match. I didn't realise, when I hadn't drawn up that area before. I knew there were a couple of good pegs up there. I think the pegs we fished were new pegs they put in, I think. But as I say, I went there when I first, if you look at the vlog, I was quite disappointed when I looked at the water. I don't know, they don't give it much hope here. Like. And then lo and behold, there they were, loads of fish. And could I got more out? I don't know. All I know is the anglers who beat me mostly had their fish closer in than I did. I've had to work for them out there, and it was, very interesting, that was a good match. And as I say, I come fifth. Thankfully, touch wood, I've been picking up money nearly every match lately. So let's hope it continues, and we'll have to see for next week. Now, next week, I got a Thursday. I'm on doing a coaching with a couple of lads on the way. Then I'm going to choose a couple of matches then on the weekend, but I'll probably go back down Port Talbot. I'll tell you why. I'm going to tell you. I might as well tell you that Richard Candy beat me next peg last match, and he absolutely battered me, and I know why. And it's not going to happen again. So I'm going to go down there. I'm going to get my revenge. So look out, Richard Candy. All right. But it's a great venue down there if you ever watch my vlogs. Full of fish. Unfortunately, the wagler haven't worked down there this year so well. The whip seems to be catching close in. So that's what I'll be doing. Okay. Jake Bird, how long would you make the wagler rig consider they're not going through the rings, etc.? Well, this is the secret. You don't actually, right, you tie the knot just directly above the float, okay? Some cases you can actually just slide the float up. You just do an ordinary knot, just move it above, and the shot's above that knot. So you got the knot below the float. So if you snag up and you've got to snap it, then you're going to lose just your shots and hook rather than the float. Okay, some lads use a loop and loop. You can make a loop on it and a loop on on the other. It's big loops. They're pretty strong ways, strong knots of doing it. So no, I wouldn't have the line going up through your rod rings because you will impede every time you cast and all that sort of thing. Like so, yeah. So good question that. Jake, how long would you right? Mark, Clive, do you still have the rod that you won the world championship? And what rod was it? Oh, that's going back a few years now. Yeah, no, rods have improved a lot since then. I mean, the old board-on rods. Yeah, remember them? Yeah. No, these days I use a cadence rod. I find it the best, for the price on the market. Like, I did use Jen and Acklerite, but no, yeah, that's what I use now. No, and so yeah, the question, the answer to that is, yeah, I don't use that rod anymore. Yeah, I remember making a video where Ken said, "Is this the rod you won the world championship?" Well, I already mentioned that to him about 2 seconds before. Good laugh over it in them days. All right, thanks for that, Mark. Clive used to. Sorry, Mark. That's what I meant. Andrew, thanks, Clive. Good to have chat. Okay, well, nice to see you all, boys, and thanks for tuning in again. As I say, any more questions, I can always answer, during the week. Don't forget the match fishing, on Facebook. nearly 30,000 members now, so that's looking good. There's always questions. If you want to ask questions, other anglers can always answer them as well if I can't. A lot of commercial anglers are on the on that page as well. Maybe one day I'll do some commercial fishing and do a vlog on that. See what happens. You never know. Okay. So as I say, thanks for tuning in. Again. See you next week, and I'll be here again next week, same time, same place, hopefully, God willing. And I'll let you know how we get on, during the week and on the weekend. Okay. Thanks, lads. Thanks for tuning in. Then see you.